Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video. Want to be talking all about Half-Life Alyx and the minimum PC system requirements coming out for that. They're pretty tame, all things considered, but I will go over that, as well as Valve's Gabe Newell speaking a little bit about Half-Life and the future of the franchise and why it's going to VR and things like that. So, want to be up to date on everything Half-Life related. It's one of my favorite franchises, and the idea of more Half-Life is incredibly exciting. And we'll talk all about that, and also, it looks like Cyberpunk 2077 is actually going to end up having microtransactions, at least for its multiplayer component. We'll talk that at the end of this video, but that's rather unfortunate, given that it's CDPR, and they're the last ones I would really expect this from, but nonetheless, we'll look at what they said at the end of this video. First of all, with Half-Life Alyx, how good of a PC are you going to need? Well, first of all, it is a VR-only title, so this isn't a game you're going to be able to play with traditional controls. Get that idea out of your head right away. But a couple of days ago, Valve surprised us all by announcing Half-Life Alyx, a new Half-Life game that will be focused on the virtual reality environment that is described as follows. Half-Life Alyx is Valve's return in virtual reality to the Half-Life series. It is the story of an impossible fight against a cruel alien race known as the Alliance, situated between the Half-Life and Half-Life 2 events. Playing as Alyx Vance, you are humanity's only chance for survival. The Alliance control over the planet since the Black Mesa incident has only been strengthened as they round up the remaining city dwellers. Among them are some of the best scientists on Earth, you and your father, Dr. Eli Vance. Through the Steam page, the minimum system requirements have been posted, and here they are. So these are minimum, not recommended, so bear that in mind, but it'll be an Intel Core i5 7500 or a Ryzen 5 1600, 12 gigabytes of RAM. So as a minimum RAM requirement, 12 gigabytes is quite hefty. And then for the GPU, GTX 1060 or an RX 586 gigabytes. So all things considered, that is pretty beefy, but I think that is kind of to be expected. It is a virtual reality title and a big budget, technically impressive virtual reality title on top of that. Those things coming together would just make you think that yes, Half-Life Alyx is going to be a difficult game to run. However, all things considered, a 1060 isn't anything that groundbreaking. An i5 7500, yeah, that's a decent CPU, but if you have like a $1,000 build, you probably have something better than that. The 12 gigabytes of RAM is probably the standout thing that makes me think, holy crap, that is pretty hefty. But nonetheless, to give you guys an idea of Valve Index's minimum requirement, that notes a dual core with hyper-threading, 8GB of RAM, and then a GTX 970 and an RX 480. So a little bit heftier than the Valve Index's general requirements. And of course, if you do get a Valve Index, you will get Half-Life Alyx for free, but it will be playable through other things, Oculus, whatever the case may be, whatever VR headset you want to get for your PC. And I'm actually in the boat of wanting to pick up VR on PC here very soon. I think the Oculus Quest is what I'm looking at. At this point, the only thing I really have is the PlayStation VR headset. I have tried out VR through friends' PCs, and they have it, but I never actually picked up my own VR headset for my own PC. I think that's going to change relatively soon, especially because come early next year, I am definitely going to want to play Half-Life Alyx. It will be coming March 2020, and it is a full-priced PC game release. It'll be $59.99. It's not going to be a budget release. It's not a meme VR release or anything like that. It's a big budget VR release, and that's why I am very excited for the game, even though it is VR exclusive. At the same time, I'm thinking, okay, it might be VR exclusive, but this is clearly a big budget title. This isn't a title that they're just like, alright, let's just throw crap at a wall and try to sell people into VR or anything like that. If that was the case, they would make it exclusive to Valve Index. They would do everything they can to get people to try the game out, and they wouldn't price the game at $60. They probably would have priced it at $30, but no, it's a big budget title. It's a $60 release, and I'm hoping for the best out of this one, especially because I think Valve is well aware that this is the return to Half-Life. Even if it's a VR title, a lot of people are going to check it out, and if you're not delivering a high quality product, well, that would do some pretty reasonable PR damage to you. Alright, moving on from that, but continuing on the Half-Life Alyx topic, in an announcement from Valve today, the company's prominent but often spotlight-shy founder Gabe Newell painted Half-Life Alyx as an important moment for the company. He noted, quote, "Everyone at Valve is excited to be returning to the world of Half-Life. VR has energized us. We've invested a lot of ourselves in the technology, but we're also game developers at heart, and to be devoting ourselves to a VR game this ambitious is just as exciting. For that to come in the form of Half-Life feels like the culmination of a lot of things we care about a lot. Truly great games, cutting-edge technology, and open platforms. We can't wait for people to experience this. So while Gabe Newell isn't completely all in board on the idea of more Half-Life, he doesn't really go into that. However, he is noting that this is a return to the world of Half-Life, and I don't think this is just a way to promote Valve Index, to promote VR as a whole. I do think they're trying to get back into Half-Life. We've heard quotes from other developers saying that, hey, this is our return to Half-Life, but there will be more Half-Life in the future. I know it's kind of idiotic to think about, yo, what's the possibility of a Half-Life 3? I can't believe we're really talking about that in 2019, and I'm theorizing the idea of a Half-Life 3. But it is something that I think when it does get announced, if it does get announced, that it would absolutely break the gaming internet. I mean, people would be so excited for that game, and it quite possibly could be one of the biggest game. I mean, it would be one of the biggest game releases of all time. I don't have to say quite possibly, it absolutely would be. I don't think it would get on the level of sales like, say, a Grand Theft Auto 5. Those games are just ridiculous in terms of sales numbers, but I do think Half-Life 3 would sell incredibly well, and it's one of those games, I've mentioned this before, but if Half-Life 3 would be announced, that's one of those games that would break into the mainstream just because it's been a gigantic meme. Everybody knows about the ongoings of Half-Life 3 and how the game never came to fruition. All my friends that, you know, even if they're not into video games, they've heard about Half-Life 3. They know this story about this is a game that, you know, people want to come out but hasn't come out or whatever. And if that ultimately got announced, man, I think the metrics for that game would be absolutely nuts. So let's hope at some point it does happen, because Half-Life Alyx is a good game to bridge to the release of Half-Life 3, but it's not the release of Half-Life 3 that ultimately I know the majority of us want. Alright, and lastly, I do want to note a CD Projekt Red interview that noted that Cyberpunk 2077 does have multiplayer, but it's in early development, and it will have some form of microtransactions. Let's talk all about this, and let's go over the relevant parts of the interview through a Google Translate. A Reddit user actually posted this. So here's what was said. Quote, during the latest financial conference call from CD Projekt Red, it was revealed that the multiplayer mode in Cyberpunk 2077 is an early stage of creation. We also learned that it is planned to implement a well-thought-out micropayment system. What can be seen on the balance sheet comes mainly from Cyberpunk single and multi-person, with the latter being a smaller project that is just beginning. We also have a few other things at an early stage, but as I said, the vast majority of expenses are related to the Cyberpunk universe. And although we still do not have accurate information on what multiplayer mode will look like, we have learned that there will be micropayments in it. The CEO of CD Projekt Red assures, however, that they will be done in a thoughtful way and in accordance with the company's policy. They will offer the right value for money. It is worth remembering that this whole project, multiplayer and micropayment mode, is still at an early stage of development, and the developers plan to add it to the game only sometime after its release. The premiere of Cyberpunk 2077 in a few months, Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer mode will have some form of microtransactions. So I'll leave a link to this in the description box below. However, it is not in native English, so bear that in mind. We have this information through a translate. Now, this is somewhere where I could really be like, I could start defending it. I could be like, you know, you guys always call me out for being a CDPR nut hugger of sorts, but let's be real. If Cyberpunk 2077 gets a multiplayer mode and it has a microtransaction system, I don't care how the microtransaction system looks like. Come on, CDPR, I would have to call you out for that. That would be some hot garbage, especially considering that this is a company that has always been like, hey, we're not going to introduce that into our games. We'll release DLC here and there for a single-player game, and DLC that is incredibly well thought out. I'll give them credit for that in The Witcher 3. Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, they didn't feel like tacked-on DLC expansions that just tried to take your money. They felt like sizable expansions that were worth your money. I don't know how you could implement microtransactions like that. I just can't see it. Are we talking about cosmetic skins? If it's anything like that, the idea of cosmetic skins being viable in a pay-to-play game, it's just garbage. I know it's been normalized in gaming and a lot of you guys are okay with it. However, in yesteryears, in past times, what it would have been is these cosmetic skins would have been available to everyone just by playing the game, and nowadays you're seeing a lot of games removing the accessibility to this piece of content and then putting it behind a paywall and saying, oh, it's cosmetics only. Well, cosmetics should be a part of the game itself. I know a game like League of Legends sells cosmetics. Well, League of Legends is a free-to-play title, so that's one thing. If you're a free-to-play game and you want to do microtransactions and you want to sell cosmetics, knock yourself out. In the case of Cyberpunk 2077, it is a pay-to-play game. You can tell me that, you know, the multiplayer will be free to Cyberpunk 2077, but no, you still have to buy the $60 game if you want to sell Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer as a standalone game. You know, that's an entirely different conversation, and that ultimately ultimately depends on the quality level of Cyberpunk 2077, but honestly, I just don't like microtransactions, especially it bleeding into a CDPR game. I think that sets a poor precedence going into the future, and what that could mean for CDPR titles in the future, especially if they make a crap load of money off this, which they probably would if the multiplayer component is competent, because people do have that attachment and that investment to CD Projekt Red. Let's hope if they do microtransactions, they deliver it in a unique way that, you know, I haven't seen it done really well for a pay-to-play title, but who knows? I'll give CDPR the benefit of the doubt for now, but this is something that I am not all too optimistic about. And that's going to conclude this video. Again, I wanted to bring you guys up to date with all the goings-on of Half-Life Alyx. The minimum requirements are out. Gabe Newell speaking a little bit about the game. I don't know if that means we're going to get more Half-Life in the future, but it is something to keep an eye on. And CD Projekt Red noted that Cyberpunk 2077's multiplayer will have a well-thought-out microtransaction system. That is a little bit unfortunate, but let's hope ultimately that works out rather well. That's going to conclude this video. If you guys have a request for a future video, you can leave that in the comment section down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.